Hey, tired of working for the man. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. 9 to 5, going to work every day, hoping to get a couple of bucks, and you're not a millionaire yet. It's probably because you're not following this one simple principle that I'm going to explain in this video. Hi, my name is Walter Amarillo. I'm known as the real estate mentor. I'm a multimillionaire a couple times over. I've built a multi-million dollar business, and I've decided to build this training called 52 Weeks to Wealth to help you become a millionaire. There are a couple of principles, and I want to start with number one. Millionaire wealth principle one is think $1 million. First, in order to become a millionaire, you have to think like a millionaire. There are some rules to becoming a millionaire. There really are. And if you are watching this video and you're not interested in becoming a millionaire, then I don't know why you clicked on it in the first place. Carry on, go work your 9 to 5, and hopefully you retire by the time 75 and everything's good for you. But if you want to become a millionaire, you have to learn these principles. Think a million is more than just words. It is more than just a simple concept to be disregarded. It is actually a process. There's a process to thinking a million. And in order to do it, you probably should read the book of the week. Book of the week is The Millionaire Real Estate Investor by Gary Keller. This book talks about the 4 different processes to becoming a millionaire. And even Gary Keller starts with principle number 1, think a million. In fact, I've read over 350 books, and in the time that I've read, and I've been to a lot of gurus, I've gone to a lot of coaching seminars, they all seem to agree in this one principle. First, you have to think a million. In fact, they talk about setting goals. And these goals are not just pie in the sky goals or dreaming. This is something that you're going to attain. That first thinking of a million does not mean you have figured out the process. It doesn't mean you know how you're going to get the money. It just means you're starting to think about it, including vision boards or including writing it down, setting the goal, putting it somewhere where you can see it. In fact, writing things down is really powerful. There's a book called The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale, and he talks about this process in which he writes down what his goal is, puts on a card, puts it in his wallet, and then goes and manifests that energy and works towards it. Everything in the universe comes from thoughts. This is a principle that you're going to see come up over and over throughout the 52 wealth principles. But the reason that thinking a million is so key is because it's really hard to attain something you haven't thought about. If you want $1 million, this is about $10,000 representation in cash. If you want $1 million, you're going to have to do something that attracts the $1 million. You have to put yourself in a position where you can acquire $1 million. And there's no person on the planet who ever puts themselves in a position they haven't thought about first. Normally, when $1 million ideas come by, people say, I'm too busy, or I don't know how to do it, or I'm not comfortable with that process at the moment. When you're told you have to start a business or invest in real estate or sell something, a lot of people will just say, oh, that's not my thing, because they're not thinking a million. Now, when you shift your thoughts and you start thinking what attracts $1 million, suddenly those things seem like a good idea. You may say, I don't know how, but I'm willing to learn. Let me tell you a story about when I was getting started that relates to this. When I first started thinking about wealth, thinking about $1 million, I was 18 years old. At 18 years old, I was just aiming to make 40,000 because that's what my dad made. That's where I set my goal. I then proceeded to make 18,000, then 20 the next year, then 22, and then within 4 years I jumped up to $40,000. I found a job that paid $40,000. And you would think that because I was growing, and then one year I went from 22 to 40, that I would continue in this growth pattern. But what happened was, because my goal was $40,000, I stayed there for the consecutive 8 years. For the next 8 years, I earned the same exact amount because I'd never considered earning more. When opportunities to make more money would come by, I would find an excuse. I would be busy. I would be playing games, or I'd be out with my friends, or I would be working on my house. I'd always find an excuse. I'd find something to stop me from making more than 40,000. And it wasn't until I went to this event called the Millionaire Mind Intensive that T. Harv Eker had set up. It was a 3-day event. And at that event, they talked about mindset a lot. They talked about setting goals. They talked about big goals. And there was a experience that we went through where we had to break through our past financial blueprint, our money beliefs, our thoughts. And you may have something like that in your life right now. Think back to what you made last year. And this is how we'll do an experience. Think back to what you made last year, and then think about what you made the year before. And then think about what you made the year before that. And if the number is pretty damn close, you may have a financial blueprint that is set at that number. I want you to write this down. Write that number down and then multiply it by 2. Just the thought of making that doubled number probably excites you, probably gets you happy or excited, or maybe it creates anxiety, maybe it creates some fear. This is just thinking. This is just the power of thoughts. You're not doing any work, but either you're feeling excited or fearful around creating that extra wealth, that extra income for yourself. This is the power of thoughts. So Think a Million really does come into play as one of the most powerful, and that's why we made it number one, wealth principle number one, the most powerful tools that you have in your ability to build wealth. First, think a million. How do we do it? Write down $1 million on that same piece of paper. Write it down, cut it in half, then cut it in half, then cut it in half until you get to the number that you've been making. And then commit to building wealth, building income at that doubling rate each year until you've gotten $1 million. See, each year you're doubling. So go from 1 million and back. Each year you expand. Each year you get a little bit more. You have to have a reason to become a millionaire. Many people watching this video, probably to watch it at this length, you may be interested in becoming a millionaire, because if you weren't, you probably wouldn't have gotten this far. So that $1 million dream that you have, whatever it is that inspires you, whatever it is that excites you, whether it's the fact that you'll have financial freedom, you can do whatever you want with whoever you want, whenever you want, or maybe it's just being able to say that you did it. For me, becoming a millionaire had a lot of ego involved. I wanted to know that I was worth something. I wanted to know that I created wealth for myself and that nobody could take that away from me, that I'd done a challenge that most people were afraid of. Most people would shy back to making $1 million. I don't think you're one of those people. I think that you're either excited by the prospect or at least willing to take on the challenge, or at least interested to see where this could lead you. Now, after I had decided to become a millionaire, after I decided, it still took me another 5 years. See, I had found financial freedom at 30, but I didn't become a millionaire until I was 32. At 28 years old, I made the commitment. I decided I'm going to become a millionaire, but it took me 5 years from that point to finally hit that $1 million net worth. And it took me another 2 years to finally earn 1.5 million in 1 year. So net worth and income are very different. In fact, in the book that I just mentioned, the Millionaire Real Estate Investor, Gary Keller talks about 4 processes to becoming a millionaire. 1, think a million. 2, buy a million, which is buy $1 million worth of real estate or businesses. And 3, gain a net worth of $1 million, which means you either pay some of those businesses off or you acquire more businesses with more equity. And then 4, which is actually earn $1 million. There's a process. Not all millionaires have earned the $1 million, and not all future millionaires will ever decide to go and do the net worth piece. Many of the richest people we know out there, the celebrities, the basketball players, they never have $1 million in the bank, but they're earning $1 million contracts. So it's up to you what life you want to live. I genuinely believe that you should build wealth. That's why these are the 52 wealth principles. I want you on the journey with me. And if you got value from this video and you want to see some of the other ones that we're going to have coming out, like, share, and subscribe to the channel. It really helps gaining momentum and helping more people build wealth. The goal for me this year is to build 100 millionaires who will build 100 millionaires. By the time I pass on, I'd like to be able to say that I built 1 million millionaires. I'm willing to take the time. When I started, I was willing to put in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, whatever it took to become a millionaire. But I'm telling you, you can do it in the next 3 to 5 years if you first start with Think a Million and follow the 52 wealth principles. Cheers to your success. When you have a choice, always invest with the best.